Hello guys, Crispy here, welcome back to another video. With this one, my friends, I'm going to be testing a GeForce RTX 3060 12GB in God of War Ragnarök. This one is the Afox model of the card. We are running it with the latest Nvidia drivers and I'm not manually overclocking it. You can see all of its specs right here in Tech Power-Up's GPU Z. Resizable bar is also enabled. And over on the left, I'm pairing it with a Ryzen 9 7950X 3D with half of its cores disabled, making it pretty much the same as a Ryzen 7 7800X 3D, and 32GB of DDR5 6000MHz RAM in dual channel. Let's get into it, shall we? Let's go over the settings first. I am starting at 1080p resolution using TAA native and the high settings preset. And well, this is where we left it with the RX 5700 XT, and that GPU also got 60 plus FPS all of the time here at the 1080p resolution. This seems to be pretty similar in performance. Very impressive because the 5700 XT is a little bit older than the 3060, of course. But this is not the most intensive area in the game, okay? I will go there a little bit later in this video as well if I get stuck in the story here. But I just wanted to get a little bit ahead in the story, of course, play it for a little while before we start the more intensive area benchmarking, which is a little bit more boring. All right, let's keep on going. Wait, hello? Okay. It's all good. It's all good, guys. I got a little bit scared there because they were talking about untold horrors and stuff. But we're fine. Everything's going to be okay, as usual. Well, where are the enemies? Okay, there's one more over there. Damn bastards, man. Okay, destroy that thing, buddy. Let's go. We got this. All right, come on. Beat the bastards, Kratos. Here we go. Boom. There it is. The brutal kills, man. It's lovely in this game. Let's go again. Boom. You look at that. Jesus Christ. All right, we're fine. Come on, let's go. Kill the rats as well. And what is in this direction? Let's find out. Nothing much, I guess. Fire at this thing, please. There we go. I guess we just go back to the same area pretty much. 60-something FPS inside of here. Seems to be a little bit more intensive than outside, interestingly. Let me grab this as well. And okay, let's continue going down here. Lower 60s at times. That is pretty surprising. I thought these areas would be way less intensive. But no, they're more intensive. Well, this one right here isn't really. We might suffer a little bit here with this boy. Ooh, he barely takes any HP. Oh, off him. Okay. Now we're fine. Absolutely, this is easy, guys. This is not Wukong, you know. Wukong is very difficult. This is an easy game. I also have it set to the lowest difficulty. That's one of my main gripes with Wukong. Like, there's no difficulty setting, and it's very difficult. There we go. Kill the thing. Come on. Shoot the thing as well. There we go. Nice. Oh, my God. Yeah, that's sick, dude. I love it. This is awesome, guys. Oh, this game. And it looks great at the same time on high settings, performs well as well. It has those little stuttering issues, or micro stuttering issues actually, that you're seeing in a frame time graph. Little spikes like this. It's really weird because I've seen that with every GPU from Nvidia so far, but not with AMD GPUs. So, maybe AMD GPUs are a little bit better optimized for this game. I don't know. The lighting looks great as well on high settings. There's not a major difference between ultra and high settings, and ultra does kill your FPS. So that's why I'm not testing ultra settings, because it would be below the 60 FPS mark. Let's check it out now in this more intensive area, and it's dropping into the 50s, as you can see, guys. Ooh, that's interesting. Okay, I didn't think it would drop that far, honestly. I thought maybe some areas in that other part of the game where we were as intensive as this, but apparently no. This can still drop from 60 FPS at 1080p high settings, unfortunately. And so could, I guess, the RX 5700 XT. Maybe that's a little bit faster in this game than the 3060, actually, but yeah, in this area, I'm not sure. I didn't really test it here with that GPU. Right here, yeah, it starts dropping a lot. 51, 50 frames. I mean, is it the end of the world? Obviously not. You can play the game absolutely fine on high and native 1080p resolution, and if you're playing with a controller, for example, you might not even notice whenever the FPS drop from 60 in these areas here, so there's that. I mean, even with a mouse and keyboard, it's fine. It's a single-player title. You're not really doing any fighting over here, so it doesn't really matter at all that the FPS are dropping slightly. But hey, if you want to keep 60 plus all of the time, you might need to drop it down to the medium settings. Now, there is something over here that we will definitely utilize. It will look better using frame generation from FSR FG over TAA native than it does using like DLSS quality. So instead of using upscaling, just use frame generation, and we went from like 60 FPS average to 80 something FPS average, and that is an insane difference in performance. It will be way smoother like this. Obviously, there is a little bit of added input lag that you can actually fix for the most part by enabling the latency reduction right here, reflex. So let's enable that. And now it's even better in terms of response times, of course. I mean, yeah, this is probably the way to play this game. In areas that are less intensive, like the previous ones that we played before, it will get a high refresh rate experience, like up into the 140s, 130s sometimes, especially in those areas where we hit 100 FPS and 90 FPS at native res. And here, well, you can see instead of getting like 60 to 70 most of the time, it's up into the 80s and 90s. It definitely feels smoother. It looks barely any different. It might be slightly, very, very slightly softer, but it doesn't really matter, guys. I mean, it still looks great. So yeah, this is definitely how I'd choose to play this game. And remember when I talked about the little stutters that we were seeing, little micro stutters, those were a little bit noticeable if you're looking for them and can be quite annoying. But here with frame generation, they are gone. That's something that I noticed with other Nvidia GPUs as well. They are completely gone whenever you turn on that frame generation. So this is the way to play the game. It is buttery smooth now, no problems with the frame time. Even if I do this, like, no issues at all rendering frames whenever you're doing that. It's FSR 3.1, so they fixed that in this iteration. And it looks great at the same time, so that's why I wouldn't really choose to downscale the image to 720p using DLSS quality, then upscaling it to 1080p. I mean, it looks great still. It looks like native resolution everywhere aside from in the water, and it doesn't get as high FPS as it did with FSR frame generation enabled. So it's a worse experience in the water because it's more shimmery here and noticeably lower resolution with DLSS quality. And it might still even drop from 60 FPS sometimes, since it actually is touching 60 sometimes. So, yeah, don't use quality DLSS or quality FSR here at the 1080p resolution. I would just use frame gen on top of TAA native, and that's it. Now we're at 1440p resolution using TAA native high settings preset. Gosh, this menu. Okay. And you should probably lower it down to medium, which looks very similar still to high. Actually, even low looks great and similar to medium. Yeah, I mean, medium settings might be the best performance to visuals ratio in this title, actually. But I just wanted to showcase the high settings a little bit here at 1440p before we move on to medium at this resolution. Of course, at 1080, just stick to high settings. Unless you want 60 plus at native resolution, then you choose medium settings and it will get you that. But again, the best experience is with that FG enabled, in my opinion. And as you can see, it's between like 45 and 60 frames per second most of the time in this area, which is not where it drops the most. You already know that's in the tunnel, or actually there is another part a little bit further ahead in the river where it drops a little bit further than in the tunnel area, but that's just broken, I guess. But yeah, this is it. And now with these baseline FPS, enabling FSR FG will make a difference to the smoothness, of course, but it will put you between 60 and 70, and it will likely drop from 60 sometimes as well. And here, with these FPS, the input lag is way too much. So I wouldn't really choose this even for a single player title. Maybe in like Black Myth Wukong I would, because that game is very hard to run, so I could put up with this, but I think the way to go is just use medium settings here at 1440p. It's going to give you a better experience overall than just enabling FSR FG here with the high settings and have this amount of input lag. It's really, really noticeable at this point. Now, since 1440p is actually 78% higher resolution in terms of pixel count than 1080p, we could utilize DLSS quality and not kill the image quality by a whole lot, you know? So let's try that out, see how it puts us, or where it puts us, actually. Yeah, the water is still very shimmery, though. Even at 4K resolution with quality DLSS or quality FSR, the water is super shimmery for some reason. They just didn't optimize the water to be used with upscalers, I guess. But now we're getting close FPS to what we saw at 1080p native res. So I think at this point, if you enable some FG on top of this, it will be a great experience. So let's do that. FSR FG is now enabled. Yeah, it puts us up into the 90s and probably 80s in worst case scenarios, touching 100 FPS sometimes. Again, water will be more shimmery than it was at 1080p with FSR FG, even though this is 1440p, but it's just because of that quality DLSS. Look at that, lot of shimmer in the water. But if you can look past that, this is definitely a great option to play this game with the 3060 12GB. It will deliver an awesome visual quality outside of the water. Like, look at this. Nothing looks like low resolution here, and it will deliver that smoothness, that added smoothness, and even high refresh rate in some particular areas of the game. But yeah, it's still not what I'd pick for 1440p resolution gaming in this title. That would be TAA native once again. And by the way, I'm not doing DLAA, which is also native, because DLAA, first of all, still looks shimmery in the water more so than TAA does, but it's also way more intensive than TAA on that frame rate. So I'm not gonna use that. Okay, anyway, oh gosh, I hate these menus. Let's go to medium settings right now. Okay, this is the medium preset. I'm just gonna go back to the menu and back to the game again, so it loads in everything. And well, back in this area, it is dropping into the 50s, but remember, at 1080p high native resolution, it was also dropping into the 50s around here. So it's definitely going to be a decent experience whenever we enable that frame generation. And I think I'm going to do that right now. So here we go. FSR FG is now enabled. TAA native, medium settings. And we're up into the 70s. Now, if it drops into the lower 70s and maybe even 60s, the input lag starts being a bit annoying, actually. And right now, I actually thought we'd be up into the 80s at this point, guys, in this city area part of the game. Yeah, it's not amazing. It's not as good as I expected it to be on medium. We didn't gain a bunch of FPS, you know? We only gained, what, about maybe 10 frames per second? Yeah, I think 10 is accurate compared to high settings. So it's not going to be a night and day difference in terms of the smoothness, but in terms of frame generation input lag, it actually makes quite a bit of a difference, because going from like 60 FPS minimum to like 68 or 66 FPS minimum, still very noticeable, the difference, you know, in input lag. Although right now I'm seeing some frame skips sometimes, probably because the frame rate is too low for frame generation, actually. Yeah, it is not amazing, guys. I really thought it was going to be better here. But, well, we can, of course, use DLSS on quality, medium settings, and FSR FG at the same time. Again, we'll have the same shimmery water problem, but now we're up into the 90s and touching 100 FPS at times in an intensive area. Once again, like where we started, it will definitely get way higher FPS. No problems, no jitters, nothing, like... It's just going to be stable. It will look great everywhere aside from the water. And I mean, maybe I'm being picky here, you know? Maybe you don't care about the water shimmering at all, because sometimes in real life it does shimmer, right? So there's that. But hey, I gotta be picky here, you know, and see the differences with the upscalers and so on. So I can tell you those differences. And, well, the main difference that I see is that water shimmering. Everywhere else, it's slightly softer of a picture, but it doesn't shimmer at all. It doesn't have any aliasing issues. It's really, really good looking everywhere aside from the water, basically. So there's that. If you can live with that, there are some great experiences to be had here with the 3060 12GB at 1440p resolution. So I'm gonna stop it right there, guys. Almost 100 FPS average here in this area. It's very, very impressive. And I guess we should try 4K next. Here we go, 3840 by 2160 is now the resolution, TAA native, medium settings still. Oh boy, okay, that's not terrible. It's not dropping from 30 FPS here. Damn, that means that in other areas, which are way less intensive than this one, in the city, you know, it will get you higher FPS than 30 all of the time. Like, I guess 90% or 95% of the game will be at 30 plus or even touching 40 FPS on average. That's pretty impressive, guys. Damn. Okay, obviously we already know that if it's getting low 30s here, it will drop into the 20s, but very impressive that we can do this at 4K native res on a 3060, which was never meant to be a 4K gaming GPU, you know? Let's check it out. Moment of truth. 32, 31, 30. It's keeping in the 30s, guys. It's staying there. Holy crap, it's fighting. It's fighting so hard, but it is dropping now. By the end of this tunnel, it gets way more intensive. Still, it only drops down a little bit from 30 FPS in worst case scenarios, so not that big of an issue, honestly. If you want that 30 FPS experience, just overclock the 3060 a little, and you'll have that. This is crazy. Once again, very nice. And I mean, I should have expected this because the 5700 XT also did a decent job at 4K native resolution. In that other area, though, it was getting, I think, 40 FPS or something like that. But yeah, pretty impressive stuff. Now, if we utilize frame gen over 30 FPS, it's going to be a pretty terrible experience, guys, because it's not even reaching 60 FPS, so the input lag is absolutely insane at this point. Yep, that's not doable, okay? So I guess we need to utilize DLSS instead. With quality DLSS, it goes up into the 50s. That's insane, guys. Holy crap. Once again, if they manage to fix the shimmery water with DLSS in this game, or with FSR, with any upscaling basically, it will be a sick experience. Even with the 3060, look at this. Saying 40s. Damn, it will drop down into the 30s, of course. I'm going here because this is the actual most intensive area that I have seen so far. But, yeah, I doubt it will drop from 30 FPS. And again, once you are off the water, there is basically no difference between DLSS quality and the native resolution. Maybe DLSS quality is actually slightly sharper because it has some sharpening added to it. Very impressive stuff. And the minimum FPS is here, guys, 37. That's sick. If you just want 30 FPS experience, maybe add motion blur for a console experience, you know, you can have it at 4K with 4K visuals aside from the water. Super, super great. Now, let's try DLSS performance here, which is upscaling the game from 1080p resolution internally to 4K. And it looks very good still, like, look at that. No shimmering at all, no aliasing outside of the water, but the water gets completely wrecked at this point. Look at this. It's such a shame, you know, but it didn't really give us that many more FPS compared to quality DLSS, so I guess performance is out of the question. I would probably choose to use quality instead. It's a 5 FPS difference, so yeah, I'd use quality. And lock it to like 30 maybe for that 4K experience. Now let's try some FG on top of this. Yeah, it only bumps things up into the 60s, and Here, there's a lot of input lags, so not ideal, guys. I wouldn't really do this once again. But hey, if you are playing with a controller and 60 FPS, maybe it's doable with FSR FG enabled in terms of the input lag. But again, like, look at this. When the FPS are these low, you can actually tell that it's not smooth 60 the entire time, unfortunately. And you can see it in the frame time as well. There are some weird things happening sometimes. Yeah, it has some frame skips or micro stutters still whenever you are close to 60 FPS, maybe a little bit above or a bit below. Yeah, that happens with FSR FG enabled with this frame rate. So, yeah, I think I prefer the non-FSR FG version. Okay, so I'll just disable that, and if you're playing at 4K resolution, just use this DLSS quality, which renders the game at 1440p and upscales to 4K, medium settings, and it is a great experience. Alright, so that's been it. Thanks very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll be back soon with another one, so stay tuned in. Love you all. Bye-bye.